Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast, Finding Your Flow. I'm so excited to have you here. So, I want to welcome you to our new season of this transformational podcast, and it's called My Intuition Made Me Do It. I'm your host, Jennifer Jane Young, and I'm here to ignite inspiration within you. I'm the author of Say Yes to Your Yes, How to Trust Your Gut and Take the Leap, and the visionary behind the School of Intuitive Leadership. I've dedicated my life to empowering individuals to trust their intuition and lead their lives from that powerful inner wisdom. Through my work as an international speaker and intuitive leadership advisor, I've witnessed the transformative power of following one's intuition firsthand with entrepreneurs and organizations around the world. This season, we're diving deep into the stories of people who dare to listen to their inner voice and take the leap. Join us as we unravel the mysteries of intuition, sharing captivating experiences that will reignite your belief in the incredible guidance within you. Get ready to embark on a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. It's time to embrace the clarity and courage that comes from trusting your intuition. So sit back, relax, and prepare to be inspired into action. Your dreams are waiting. Let's make them a reality together. So Veronica, welcome to My Intuition Made Me Do It. I'm super excited to have you here because we were on a networking call the other day, and when you introduced yourself, I was like, oh my God, this is like the wise woman version of the work that I do. We do very similar work. We even have an offering that has the same title. So I'm really happy to have you here and to just amplify the intuitive magic as we share your story today.
Oh, thank you. And I'll tell you what, the title, My Intuition Made Me Do It, brilliant. It gives me chills. Like, don't we need more to do because of intuition? Like, instead of spinning our wheels? I mean, it's
I
brilliant.
know. Thank you. Yeah, I think our intuition makes us do incredible things. And actually, as I've been doing these interviews and hearing stories, I'm just blown away by the beautiful stories and experiences that have happened from people just saying yes to their yes and following their gut. So, my first question is, what did your intuition make you do?
Well, this is a very interesting question because a combination of intuition, the ability to listen, and the ability to recognize there's something bigger than me happened all at once. And that was in 1996. I decided I didn't want to live anymore. I was mid 30s or early 30s. I'd made some really poor life choices. I have a whole background of blah, blah, blah. This is what I came from. That's the story. And I now use that as filler. But I just was so desperate that I didn't think there was any other answer. And I was careening my car and I was going to crash into the side of a bridge. And this feeling came over me like this, I can't explain it, like this chill but warmth. And I started to get these goosebumps and I heard nope, 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 nope. And
Oh,
then my car filled up with this incredible warmth. Like, and I felt like I had to go like this because I couldn't fit in the car. And so, and so
I'm like, whew,
I
chills.
know. I get it in my chest, right? It's still to this day, all these years later. And I heard, "We've got you." And I just was like, what the? Because I wasn't religious, I wasn't spiritual. Um, I was getting by on vanity and coffee and manipulation and like
Wow.
I just wasn't. And so in that moment, I'd like to say, oh, it was the epiphany and it changed everything. And I went, but I didn't because I didn't continue to listen to my intuition
Mm,
until I did. You get to a place where you're out of resources, right? I mean, that changed my life forever, obviously. And I began to pick at something spiritual. So that began my 30-year dive into spiritual development. And I've just been on a quest. I'm curious by nature. I guess if there's one word, two words to describe me are curiosity and enthusiasm. And when they're put together, like you're unstoppable, right? So
mm.
that was the beginning.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I have so many chills and I had like a wave of emotion come up when you told that story. It's so beautiful. what happened to you. Um, I feel like I need to digest that for the moment. There's so many people out in the world struggling and suffering, and they feel like there's no way out of it, right? And I've had moments like that also of just feeling like, will this ever end? Like, how will I ever get out of this suffering? And I hope this message in particular that you received will be a reminder to anyone who's suffering out there that you are always supported. There is always support out there for you, even if you can't see it, with your human eye. Um,
And I
so
just want
thank
to
you.
add, I was the average person. Like I wasn't walking around tuning in, ooming and awing, and
Hmm.
I wasn't. Like I because here's what I know, and you talked about the wise woman. I'm 61, so the crone, right? Like I've got a lot
Yes.
of the crone energy in me. Um, we walk around and we're receptors for everybody's stuff, right? You
Yeah,
know that the
for
empath, we
sure.
absorb, we this, we that. And the first place we need to cleanse. People will say, how do I cleanse and ground my body? What are you doing here? What are you
Hmm.
cleansing up here? Because how many toxic thoughts? We have 70,000 thoughts a day or something, I was reading. How many of them
Yeah,
are putting you in the direction of where you want to be versus keeping you stuck and feeling helpless? Like that's where I was,
totally.
not
Yeah,
realizing
and
the importance of thoughts.
100%. I've been actually really diving into this lately with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work
Oh,
and neuroscience and quantum physics and everything. And I think it's actually 90% of our thoughts, our automatic thoughts every day in those 70,000 are negative. So we're just running on automatic based on whatever happened in our past and our trauma and all that stuff. So we totally have to stop and cleanse because that thinking that's going on in moments when we're suffering can't really be trusted. It's not accurate. It's not
absolutely.
accurate about what life is and what the world is about, and what's possible for us. So yeah, that's a really, really good point. And I'm curious, because in your form that you filled out, you talked about how your intuition made you be like more confident, more yourself, and way more popular. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, it was just kind of like everybody, when you tell people what you do, right? Like
Yeah.
that brings on a curiosity in and of itself. But when I leaned into the idea, the fact that I just knew things, it instilled a, how do I say it? Like I walked taller. I Things became more vibrant, colors, uh, people. I didn't see people as their stuff, their story, but I
Mm,
began to see, and this makes me very emotional because I began to see the soul of people. So you come to me, whether you're the waitress in the diner or we're standing together at the meat counter in the grocery store, or you're in the hospital and your partner's having surgery along with mine, wherever you're coming to me from, wherever you're meeting me from, I'm seeing your soul. And so
mm.
right away, that lifts your vibration because you're seeing the essence of who someone is, not the behavior, right?
Right.
And so my husband would often say we'd go out for dinner and the waitress literally would end up sitting in the booth with us because she would just dump her story to me, and
Right.
it would be like, oh my God, and my husband's like, well, here we go. So that in that sense, but my family, this wasn't something that was obviously, it wasn't expected by me, nor was it expected by my family. In fact, I grew up in, I call it the intersection of alcoholism and mental illness. My father,
Mm,
alcoholic, my mother, very mentally ill. My mother ended up leaving the family at 9 years old, and it just was a very dysfunctional space. Um, and so you develop certain characteristics and certain behaviors based on that energy.
sure.
I was always very curious and very creative. But the interesting thing about me, I wasn't a social person in a traditional sense. My
Mm,
father worked what we call swing shift, 11 to 7, 3 to 11, and 7 to 3. Like he would swing through the month through all those shifts. And my
right.
brother and I would get plucked up and taken to my grandmother's in the middle of, I'm meaning literally nowhere. We had nothing, right? I would hate it. And we would be forced to be there. And as a result, you get really creative with things that aren't there. You know,
Yes.
you make them up. So I began, to play with that energy, and people were always drawn to the playfulness.
I love it. I'm already drawn to the playfulness of and we'll talk about it a bit near the end of the work that you do and how you do it. It's so fun. We need more playfulness, and we need to be seeing people more at a soul level, like you see them. That's really important because it's so easy to judge a behavior, um, and not see the true essence of the person. So I love that piece as well. Let's just take a quick pause to soak in the goodness of today's story. If you are feeling like your inspiration, your intuition, and your excitement is being ignited right now for your next yes, I invite you to join us in the Say Yes to Your Next Yes community. It is a free space, and it is a supportive community for ambitious, purpose driven souls who are ready to trust their intuition, take courageous action, and say yes to the life they know they're meant to live. This space is led by me, Jennifer Jane Young. I'm an intuitive leadership coach and the author of Say Yes to Your Yes: How to Trust Your Gut and Take the Leap. In this group, you're going to gain direct access to my guidance and coaching support, empowering you to break free from fear, align deeply with your purpose, and confidently take bold steps towards your next big yes in life or in business. Let's turn those intentions into empowered action so you can experience the life you have been dreaming of. Head over to jenniferjaneyoung.com/community to join us today. Now let's get back to the rest of this amazing story. So I know this is kind of like, this question almost feels a little surface level in relation to that huge moment of insight that you had when you follow your intuition, um, to essentially keep living and staying here and then starting to follow your path. But um, what would you say is one of the most important lessons that you learned in trusting your gut, or that wisdom that came that day?
Um, Give yourself permission to be confident enough to not know, but to trust.
Hmm.
Because so many women come to me and they'll say, I got a hit, or I thought this was it, but I didn't think it was it. I didn't trust it. Right. And so
Right.
think about, had I not trusted what I was going through, I wouldn't be sitting here being the person I am. And that was a big leap of faith, because if you've ever been in a place where it's so dark,
Yeah.
you feel like you have no other options. I mean, I now know the courage it took for me to trust that.
Mm.
I mean, I have chills to this day, and it's 30 some years later, and it's like, damn, that was a big ass deal. Oh, excuse me. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Oh, we swear. I mean, it's totally fine. This is an adults only podcast. So.
Well, and what I learned is we have millions of disruptions during our day, right? We're
Yeah.
out there, we're in the world, and horns honk and bills drop and text messages come in and whatever, right? We have
Yeah.
disruptors. We have disruptions. But we don't think about disruptors in the term of our thoughts. So I'll
Yeah.
give you an example. My 5-year-old grandson, he can get a little testy, and he gets this flare up, right? Because he's 5 and he's learning how to process the emotions. And so the disruptor for him that I've
Hmm.
worked with him is I distract him. We all need a distractor. So if you're in this moment of heady space where your story, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, whatever your story is, you need a
Yeah.
disruptor, you need a distraction. And for me, that's the breath.
Yeah.
The breath. It's the deep breath in and just
Mhm.
holding it, because when we take our awareness to our breath, it doesn't have to be a woo woo kind of thing. It really is a distractor. Like, you're
Mhm.
forgetting what you're doing here because now you're bringing in the breath, and it sounds oversimplified, but I promise you it works, because now you're spinning, and then you're going, wait, I know I can distract myself. Oh yeah, breath. And then you
Mhm.
take the breath. So that's just a little tip.
Yeah, I mean, it's so you're right. It does seem uh small, but like I teach this all the time because I'm also a yoga therapist, so I still teach yoga, but I bring this, the yoga therapy philosophy and teachings into the work I do with entrepreneurs or anyone I work with really. And like there's a physiological change that happens in your body when you take a breath, you activate the relaxation response. So like you said, it's not woo at all. You are actually shifting your nervous system and your brain as you take that breath to distract yourself from the thinking or the emotion that is not helpful in that moment. So, and we are the only ones who can cut that cycle, right? Like we have a choice in that moment. And I've seen this in myself so many times. I can, as one of my teachers that I really love says, we can choose to keep spiraling down, or we can choose to start spiraling back up, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. I love
And yeah, exactly. So,
I just got the image of like a tornado, but it's very, you know how it goes very narrow? It's like sucking up the energy. It's sucking up what's not working and it's recycling it, giving it back to the universe. And so when we
yes.
spiral, I love that analogy of up, right? Like, I think that's a beautiful visual.
Yeah. And I remember when I heard her say this, it's Regan Hillier, just to honor her as a teacher. Um, when I heard her say, ever since that day, I haven't forgotten about that. And ever since that day that I heard her when she was teaching this, I was like, oh, okay, there's no more spiraling down. I am always going to choose to spiral up as of now. So to not make myself suffer, right? So, okay, what helps me spiral up and not spiral down? Because it's all of our automatic way of being that makes us spiral down, right? Based again, attached to our trauma and everything. Um, so yeah, the spiraling up. And then the spiraling up gives me the image also of that Kundalini energy,
Oh, yeah.
going up to our crown. And yeah, it's so beautiful. Um, oh my goodness. There's so many questions here that I have that I can't, that don't really make sense with your story, which I love because I think it's just going to take us on an intuitive path as I continue to ask you questions. Because one of the questions I often ask people is like, what do you think your life would look like now if you hadn't taken that intuitive leap? But it's like you wouldn't be here. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that, right? You wouldn't be here.
But you know
Um,
what? I chose to step into it because let's suppose for a minute that okay, I honored it, I did it, but I continued to listen. I continued to hear because just be,
right,
I don't mean to downplay this, but just because I was saved, so to speak, didn't necessarily mean I was going to do this meaningful work, right? I had to show
right.
up. I had to battle the story,
Yeah.
of intersection where I came from. And, I want to make a really quick point. Um, I'm trying to see, I'm listening to Spirit on which story is going to be more profound to tell. Well, I'm going to share, may I share a story with, if that's
Please, yes, let's just go with the flow here. I love it.
in 2009, my husband had the first of two open heart surgeries. And I live in Pennsylvania, so we went to a very big, good hospital in Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania. So
Yeah.
he's in surgery 13 hours. I mean, it was grueling, right? So he comes out of surgery, he's in the ICU, and I'm in his room, and I can see across the hall there's a woman who had surgery, and her son and her husband are there, blah, blah, blah. So she, four times, my husband was in ICU for 2 weeks. Four times during that 2 week period, she coded, which is code blue, right? Her heart stopped. And when someone codes, you got to leave. Everybody has to leave. So the fourth time she coded, we all were shuffled out into the hall where we go and the family. And I was at one end of the hall and her son and her husband, who I nodded at and, pleasantries, hi, how are you, but didn't really know them at all. They were at the other end of the hall and they were crying, and the doctor came out, and I felt this hand. I carried a little angel with me in my hand the whole time my husband was in the hospital. And I felt this nudge, this hand on my lower back, on the small of my back, and it's pushing me. And I hear, go give him the angel. And I'm like, no, what the heck? I have chills, right? I'm
So
like,
do I. It's crazy.
oh hell no! What am I? No. Their loved ones probably going home. I am not gonna go give them this angel.
Yeah.
So listen, honestly, down the hall, put me, kick my, I'm literally dragging my feet down the hall. Push, 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 push. I'm getting closer and I'm getting closer. And I come up to the son. The son's about, I don't know, 13, right? I come up to the son and I just stand there, right? And they're looking at me. The doctor had walked away, and the husband and the son are looking at me, and I'm like, like I didn't know what to. And I just took the boy's hand. I don't know if it was me, took the boy's hand, opened it, put my angel in there, closed his hand, and said, "You need this more than me." I turned around and I walked away. I didn't
Oh.
say another word. Come a few hours later, she passed. This had
Mm.
been her fifth open heart. She passed. So meanwhile, they're cleaning out the room. I'm sitting out in the lobby, and the dad comes up to me. And I said, "I'm sorry for your loss." And he said, "I'm Jewish by faith, but I never believed in God
Mm.
until you put that angel in my son's hand."
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. That's crazy.
I can't even tell you,
Yeah.
even if I was saved for that moment,
Mm.
to give that person that introduction to something bigger than we are.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that.
Yeah, no, this is such a beautiful story because there's so many people who don't believe that there's something bigger out there supporting us and holding us and even calling us home when it's time to go, you know?
It,
Um,
it really, but you asked me the biggest thing since my life, my experience.
yeah,
That kind of stuff happens all the time to me.
yeah.
I'm in the in the grocery store. There's a man at the meat counter next to me, and he's looking at the meats, and I'm looking at the meats next to him, and I turned and I looked at him, and he was an older, big, frail man. And I looked at him and I said, "Do you need a hug?" And he turned and he looked at me, and he had a tear rolling down his eye, and he said, "I sure do need a hug."
Oh my goodness.
And we're hugging in the grocery store, and all of a sudden we've got 5 people in a circle that want to be part of this hug. Like,
Ugh,
that stuff happens all the time.
yeah, it's
That's
crazy. Well,
because it runs through me.
totally. And people need this so, so much. Like
Oh,
I teach yoga twice a week here where I live, and our Tuesday morning class in particular is very, very special. And before anything happens, where everyone is just hugging each other. So everyone gets a hug when they come in, and everyone hugs everybody else. So it's like we got 15 minutes of hugging, and then everybody's energy just like spirals up, you know. And actually, it takes a while for me to be able to get everyone focused so we can actually like, do yoga. But um, God, we need this so much in our lives because we are so disconnected because of this kind of stuff,
oh,
and
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, you get what you give, right? So
Hmm.
as much as I gave, or spirit gave through me, that grew me so many ways. So many
Yeah.
ways.
We need to open our hearts more and like push the ego aside because even on that day with that angel, your left brain or your ego was probably like, don't be a psychopath and go give someone who's just died an angel. Like, that's literally the kind of thoughts that goes through our head. And then we don't do
Yes.
heart-led things that can really change someone's life. I use the word psychopath all the time because I call my dog a psychopath because he's a little crazy, but it's just but it's just to show how dramatic our thinking is sometimes instead of just opening our heart and doing the thing that we feel like we should do. And imagine how the world would change if everybody just dropped their ego a little more and opened their heart a little more.
And we have all these movements happening, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know, be kind, leave a rock, do a thing, like whatever. That's great. That's great,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But I feel like we need more action to get more traction.
Yeah.
So I'm not endorsing everyone to go hug a man in the grocery store. You have to really, before I could get to this place, the number one thing I would say that changed for me, I had a deeper level of self awareness
Yeah.
because I had to know who I am, what I am, before I could go out and share the piece of divinity that is me with other people. Because I had to make
Yeah.
sure I had clear conscience. I had to make sure I had a space of purity and I could hold that no matter what I could feel. Because when I meet people, I know things. Like
Yeah.
I don't walk around going, "Oh, I want to know you," but it's inevitable. Like I know their story, right?
Yeah.
Pieces, fragments of it.
Yeah.
And so I had to make sure I knew me. So that's the crux of my work is self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
Like know you first and know yourself as a spiritual being, not as, Susie from California who works nine to
Hmm.
five, has three kids, like not that knowing yourself, but the
Yeah.
deeper.
Yeah. Not the conditioned self, but the pure essence of you that when you came into this world, 100%. I'm curious, you know, one of the things I love to ask about is the process of like from the moment you trusted your gut and then I call it the messy middle. From saying yes to the thing and then like, okay, now I got to do the thing. And for you, it was like, okay, I need to keep going on this human experience, but in a different way. Can you tell us a little bit about like how that process was? Because it's really important for me to share not just like oh, this landed me here and life is awesome, but like the messy middle part and how did that feel and how did that look? Um, and also to show people that like we are so much stronger than we think. We are so much more capable than we think.
It's funny because we have another connection, the messy middle. I say this somewhere between a fairy tale and a nightmare is our story in the messy middle. And that's
Yes.
the beautiful part of where we want to be, right?
Yes.
Because that messy middle, think of it like this. If I just threw 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle on the floor and you didn't have a box lid to look at the picture, what are you going to do with it? Right? So
Right.
the process is like, okay, you're in the messy middle. We know you don't have a fairy tale. We know there's really not a nightmare. There might be a perceived, but so in the messy middle, you've got these fragments of you, um, daughter, wife, teacher. We'll call them labels, but these are all fragments
Right.
of you. So what I did is I had to gather, I had to collect these pieces of myself. And again, this goes back to self-awareness work.
Right.
So what are my values? So the number one thing, I didn't even know values. Like I'm going through life, I was mid to early 30s and I'm like, values. Like these are all things that in the late 80s, early 90s, we didn't have Dr. Google, right? We didn't have
No.
that. So I was a voracious reader. I got every spiritual book I could get. But as you can imagine, I started taking divine dictation, like
Right.
values. Because intuition comes in spurts. It's a word, it's a phrase, it's a symbol, it's a sign, right? So I
Yeah.
didn't know what it was at first. I just knew that I was going to trust it. So I had to outline my values. What do you stand for? What matters to you, right? And then once you know what you value, you have to understand, how do I protect this? And they're called
Mm.
boundaries, right? They're boundaries.
Mm.
So, okay, I value freedom because then that pulls a thread. I often liken the work I do to pulling a thread on the hem of a t-shirt. You know what happens? You pull that thread, and pretty soon you don't have a hem,
Oh,
right?
right.
You're just going around the t-shirt. And so I got the value of freedom, and I got there because, and listen, I am not a therapist. I'm not advocating anybody to do work that is not feeling good for you. I
Mm.
love psychotherapy, spent 25 years in it, it all the way. Be with something, not in it, is my disclaimer here. And
Yeah.
an analogy of being with it is, if I give you a hot bowl of soup, I want you to observe it from a distance. Look at the colors of the vegetables, inhale the aroma, and then blow on it to cool it. But if you're going to be with it, you're not going to go because the soup will.
Yeah.
You're going to go like this. So
Yeah.
be with it is a gentle piece of it. So go back to the freedom. I was taken away. I was put at my grandmother's house. As a result, freedom is my number one value. And you know what? To this day, a boundary of mine, I have to be very, very convinced to drive to an event with somebody as opposed to taking my own car. I don't want to feel trapped.
Oh my God, I swear to God, we're like soul twins. Veronica, this is like scaring me. It's so crazy. I literally just told my family last week we went to an event and and they're like, "Oh, we'll just pick you up." And I was like, "No, I don't want to feel stuck when I want to leave." Literally. I'm like, we were sisters at some point in another life or
I'm
something
telling you.
because there's too many things that are, and my friend Teresa, who I know I actually have to connect you with now, last week she gave me an exercise to do to write my mission statement for my life in general and pull out my top 3 to 5 values and then something else. And my number one was freedom.
Oh, do
It
you
was
love
freedom. It's
chills?
crazy. I know, it's insane. So
We
this
have too
is
many commonalities, I'm telling you.
I know. It's crazy. I love it. And one of the, yeah,
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So I just want to say the process is define your values and then at all
Yes.
costs protect what you value. And that's your boundary. And when you value something so deeply, it will be effortless to find the way to protect it.
100%. And one of the things that I noticed is that, and this comes back to the importance of the breath, the importance of taking care of your nervous system, and disrupting whatever pattern you're stuck in. Because I noticed that when I'm in survival mode, it's really hard for me to get clear on what my values are. Because I'm just thinking about like, I need to make sure that bear doesn't kill me, that's chasing me in my head. So,
Yep.
if people are struggling to find their way or their values, just breathe, take care of your nervous system so that you can get back into that space where what you know to be true for you will come to the surface.
And going back to the breath, I mean, you'll appreciate this because I've immersed myself. Can you see the picture?
Yes, 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 yes,
I've
yes.
immersed myself in all of this, and the breath,
Yeah.
beginning of creation. Why not go back to what created you? The breath.
Uh-huh. I know. Do you know Donna Farhi?
I do not.
Oh, you need to look her up. For anybody who wants to learn about the breath, also, she has she's a very, very incredible yoga teacher and she teaches a lot about the breath. One of her books, I forget what it's called. It's all about the breath.
Awesome.
Um,
I'm
really
on it.
great. Okay. All right, so let's tie this up with some wisdom drops. So if someone is listening to this and they're feeling an urge to, or they're hearing something that their intuition's coming, telling them, um, what would be one piece of wisdom that you would want to drop for them to help them on their path as well?
Intuition is the language of the soul.
Hmm.
So when it speaks to you, it will be light, it will be freeing. Intuition is never going to say, "Oh my God, you did." No, you're not going to have that. It's going to be light, right? And so it's going to feel like, that can't be it. So I would say practice because you get good at what you practice. So here's a simple exercise. How many times, I do this all the time and it's unconscious to me now. How many times do you wait for an elevator? And then what do you do when you're waiting for the elevator? This one, this one, this one. No, it's going to be this one. Like you focus and consciously use your intuition in that moment to figure out which elevator is going to come first, right? Or if you're sitting on a park bench eating your lunch, what's the next color of shirt that's going to walk by me? Or start small, right? Because if we had to jump right in, plunge
Yeah.
in, and I'm back stopping here for a minute, but the number one reason why women, and I say women because I work with women, but everybody, the number one reason women do not use or trust their intuition is because inevitably, if they listen to it, it means change and they
I know.
fear change. So start
100%.
to become familiar with change. If you sit on the park bench on 3rd Street every day for lunch, go to 8th Street and, sit on the picnic table. Like do small things. Don't scare yourself, right?
Yes.
Because once you start building up and seeing that you can do it, confidence can be, you can have confidence in everything out there, but self-confidence, when you can do things and you can trust yourself and get the answers, that's what we're talking about here. So small things.
Such great advice so that you don't like shock your nervous system and you can take it one step at a time. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us a little bit about because one of the things that I know happens with these kinds of stories that go out into the world, people, I believe that the right people, the right stories, the right books, the right talks land in front of you at the right time. So my intention with these is that like the people who need to hear your story and get connected to you will be here watching today. So tell us a little bit about the work that you do and how people can connect with you or where they can find you. And we're going to put all of the links in the show notes as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have been a professional psychic medium for the last 18 years. I recently decided my heart lies with serving midlife women. Now, this is a broad area. She's 45-ish to 60 plus. And
Yeah.
I really love working with women of all ages to help them examine their story, explore their story, to have more fun with it, to create from their heart, from their passion. And so whether she's a business owner, which I do emphasize in the work I do, I work with female business owners, but I also do readings for non-business owners. But the bottom line is, when you work with me, no matter where you're coming in, how you're coming in, my work doesn't change.
Mm.
So, you could be a big 6-figure business owner and you're this, that, and the other thing. I have found the common denominator is the same. You want more clients, you want more visibility, but guess what? Here's the work. And the work
Mhm.
is a thread that is common whether you're a business owner or not a business owner. So I don't know how
Yeah.
well I did explaining that, but my heart is really in helping women.
Yeah, I love that. No, I think you explained it great. I think you help women, get on their path and get unstuck and move towards what they're desiring to create, experience, receive. So, oops, I'll get my podcast guy to remove that little ding dong. Thank you so much, Veronica, for being here. I believe that you were brought into my life also for a reason. I knew from the moment I saw you on in the Zoom room last time that we had to connect. I'm so excited to share this story with people, and I really hope that it lands for anyone, but particularly for anyone who is really suffering right now and feeling like there's no way out. I really hope this story touches them in a deep way. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for allowing me. I appreciate you giving me the space and the grace.
Thank you.
Okay, let's just take a moment to take in that story. My wish is that it inspires you into the aligned action that you are really ready for. You also don't have to do this alone. Just like my guests have shared about all the incredible people that have supported them along their journey, we are here for you too. If you're ready to uplevel your personal leadership, take big leaps in your life, or take that next leap on your entrepreneurial journey, join us at the School of Intuitive Leadership so that you can experience more ease, flow, joy, abundance, and live in your full brilliance and wake up each day to the life that you really want. Find out more at jenniferjaneyoung.com or at theschoolofintuitiveleadership.com. And participate in this movement with us by sharing an episode that deeply inspired you and leaving us a review. I can't wait to see you on the next episode.